All right. I was in part one of the video, and I was talking about, where's the courage, on the part of, police to speak up with their own, you know, for their own benefit. You know, in psychiatry, they say, who was it, Freud? It's basically a concept. Basically, you move towards pleasure and you move away from pain. So basically, there's a concept that people do what's in their own best interest. They have to fulfill. It's like that hierarchy of needs. They fulfill their own selfish needs first, or their own natural needs first. Then they can go about helping other people. Basically, just to explain it in a simple way, but not too complicated. But I point this out because here I am speaking up about this, and the police they won't even speak up about it for themselves. But they say, well, we have unions. Guess what? Let me use the city of Detroit as an example again. In the city of Detroit, the retirees are not represented by the union. Let me repeat that. The retired firefighters, police officers, the retired city workers, they are not represented by the union. So they have to go and hire their own legal counsel to go and sue the city and represent them and represent their interests so that they can maintain their current pension benefits. Crazy. I mean, that might come as a shock to some of them. Well, the union don't represent you. Once you retire and you go into private life, whatever, the union has no other interest in you. And it's sad. It's sad to see that. And you have these elderly people on there, and they are literally crying, saying, "I'm going to starve to death. I'm going to have to eat cat food." I mean, these are not my words. This is what they are saying. If you want to go and Google Detroit retirees starve to death, or Detroit or Stockton retiree, I'm gonna die, or Central Falls, Rhode Island retiree, I'm gonna lose my home, or I don't have no food to eat. I'm not making this up. But I have an article here in front of me that can hopefully give some insight into the mindset, police. Many of the police officers in today's society are former veterans. Veterans come back from active duty. It's tough to find employment, and police departments are recruiting heavily on military veterans. Many of them had multiple tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, various other theaters of war. Many of them, whether or not they want to admit it or not, you can't go to war zones and not be impacted mentally, and mentally by it. And, the tactics and training that they are learned in warfare or in a war theater, that's a better way to put it, theater of war, they want to come back and play and replicate that here in a domestic situation, And so basically the police force is a military unit, which is not lawful or constitutional, in my opinion, for it to be that way. But, you have a lot of police officers, you could talk till you're blue in the face, what you're doing is unconstitutional, what you're doing is not right. Sadly, they're probably not smart enough to understand it, Well, that's Sparky in the background again, as always. So, in this article here in front of me, it says, combat veteran sues Wyoming over traffic stop. Basically, in the state of Wyoming, it's 100% lawful to open carry, concealed carry without a permit. So basically, you had this veteran of the Marine Corps. He's a pilot. He's out there riding his motorcycle. He's got a pistol on his hip. So basically, the cop shows up. He wants to pull him over, and he says he wants to disarm the man for having a weapon. The veteran doesn't consent to the search or anything else, and the cop says, well, I want to pull out my gun and pull it to your head. And the veteran is, audio recording or whatever the encounter. He's on the side of the road. But what I want to point out here in the article is that the police officer states, this is what the police officer states. This police officer out there is a Sheriff's Deputy Bassett. That's his last name. And this is his statement. Bassett said in a sworn statement that he had been trained to put his personal safety above the rights of a citizen openly carrying a handgun. Well, I mean, this is just a situation with the Second Amendment. And I'm going to tie this back into the pensions and how the police themselves are suffering from their own retirements being stolen away. So the police have become disassociated to the point that they don't view violations of another citizen's rights as a violation of their rights. If that can make sense to you, right? So let me give you another example. All across the country, you have police doing strip searches of people on the side of the roads, in police stations, in prisons, everywhere. They're just strip searching people. New Mexico, there's a guy out there suing New Mexico police, strip searching him. Texas, there was a woman strip searching a traffic stop. The police woman got fired. Milwaukee, they had a big scandal where a bunch of police officers got fired. Some of them went to jail over this. But the police, they have to disassociate themselves and see, okay, this is just a lowly criminal. I'm in the uniform. I have the noble ideas of government on my side, so I must be right. But as soon as the police take off their uniform, as soon as they have to be forced to retire, they are no longer the anointed ones. Once they are retired, once they are out of uniform permanently, they are the lies they have been told are laid naked. Let me give you just one more example. Just recently, I would say like in the last week or two, the government voted to cut the pensions of military retirees and the retirees with disabilities. Let me state that again. The government voted to cut the pensions of military retirees. And all the time, in numerous you can go and Google this and look at the videos of it. You can read the articles. And in all these situations, you have these retired folks saying, whether they're police officers, whether they're firefighters, whether they're military retirees, they're saying, I was made some promises. In their mind, a promise is sacrosanct. It's just something that's just godly. But look at the reality though. They would rather cut the retirement of yesterday's police officers or the police officers from 10 years ago and say the city has to look forward. We can't look back at the retirees that are living in poverty. But my question then becomes, where's the courage of the police? Who's speaking up and saying, hey, these people suffered injuries, they suffered all this in the line of duty while they were in service to the public, while they was in their official capacity? Who's speaking up on their behalf? But the police are more or less the most brainwashed, government workers are more or less the most brainwashed people out there. Generally, there's two types of government workers. The 100% brainwashed that follows blindly to what the higher-ups are saying, because the higher-ups know everything they're saying is a lie. And then you have the worker that shows up there, does his job. He knows that all of this is a lie, but he knows the system, and he's able to navigate it. I'm going to cut off, and I'm going to come back with another part.